clicking on the rollout action plan in that little box. Brings up a PDF, and the PDF really goes over the roles of the mentor, coordinator, the education coordinator, and basically the different people in the chapter and what their roles are, not only in paragraph narrative form, but then I'm scrolling through, and then you'll see that it actually shows you the session by session responsibilities of who's doing what. And so for tonight, we're going to be covering session 1 and 2, and clearly the education coordinator is the star of the show. Now, I want you to remember that even the education coordinator, someone else from the chapter or the director, if appropriate, can step in to fill that role. It can be the same person every week if they can do the job, but if somebody else for a particular reason can jump into one of the roles to bring more value to the presentation, these titles are flexible. So if we're talking about growth coordinator or mentor coordinator, it doesn't specifically have to be, it's just that we're using that to help the organizational chart of which job category is doing what and who the actual person is. That can vary from week to week. So anyway, for tonight, we're looking at sessions 1 and 2. We've been through this material before. We're going to highlight some of the things that are different from what we've done and just try to make it a practical session where you're ready to go when we roll it out on the chapter level. And so we're going to jump right into session 1, terms and concepts. So I'm hoping that you have the document in front of you and you can take notes on it. You'll notice that the format should be fairly intuitive. Outline of the key points. We're just starting out at the chapter level, and folks have been anticipating what the material is going to be. And so we start out by sharing the vision. Why are we doing this? Why have we locked into the V formation as a power team to go through this process? What's the vision? And so terms and concepts follows that once we've got the gate of the mind open. And then really the first week, the education coordinator, the main role is to just get people into action by watching the webinars and working through the workbook. So what we'll do is I'm going to roll through the 3 to 5 minute presentation as if I was the education coordinator. And so I'll take it away. I'd basically say something like this. Hey everybody, our power team journey starts today. Let's take the first step together with an overview of where we want to go and how we want to get there. Now ultimately the goal is for your power team to take the guesswork out of generating referrals for your networking partners, and in return, guess what? For you. The Power Team Certified step-by-step system kicks off with a quick but powerful orientation boot camp, which is in the workbook. You'll walk out of the boot camp with 2 very important tools. Number 1, you'll be describing your differentiated value so it can be easily repeated. And you'll describe your target market so it can be easily recognized. Now, we'll actually work our way through the first part of the boot camp next week when the BNI director will visit and give the first of 4 BNI director presentations for the Power Team Certified program. But for today, let's open up the roadmap workbook to page 2. So everybody opens up the workbook to page 2, including myself. And we just are basically outlining the workbook. And so we say, here you'll see lesson plan number 1. Each lesson plan is organized the same way, with your goals, action steps, webinars to watch, and note takers for each webinar. So let's take a look at the goals for lesson plan number 1. And then here, what you're going to do, this is a total of about 2 minutes now. You're going to have, and we just use an example, Mr. Lee. Can Mr. Lee please assist to read the first goal of lesson plan number 1? Great. Mrs. Leem for the next goal. So you can see what we're doing here now. We're having people from the chapter read through the goals. And then you'll ask, why do you think that goal is important for goals number 3, 4, and 5? Okay. You don't have to do all 3 of them, but at least once, depending on how timing is going, why do you think that goal is important? And allow comments. You see right here at the bottom of page 1, allow comments, but don't spend too much time on a discussion. Just continue until all the goals are covered. The idea is that you're giving the chapter members an opportunity to kind of put their stamp on what they just read. It doesn't really have to have a lot of discussion. So here you'll see an additional note on the top of page 2, which is get a member to read each of the goals and choose members from various parts of the room. So that's just repeating the instructions for the bullet point that we just did. Okay, so now we'll get back into reading the script. Okay, everyone, now please turn to page 3 for the webinar number 1 note taker. So everybody turns to page 3. It says there's a webinar note taker for each of the webinars where the key points are presented for your convenience. Your job, ladies and gentlemen, is to use the note taker to add in additional notes as you watch the webinars together. That's why we call it the note taker. Write notes on it. I'm not going to review each term and concept. That's covered in a lot of detail in the webinar. So you're just making the point on, as you're talking to the chapter, you're just making the point. Write in this thing. Take notes. Make it your own. Get interactive. It helps people retain the material. Okay, we go back into the script. Now turn to page 5. This is the note taker for webinar number 2. Does everyone see that? So now they're starting to see the pattern of how this workbook is set up. That it's the overview summary at the beginning and then the note takers. So here you go as you start wrapping up your education coordinator presentation. You're basically going to say, now turn to page 5. This is the note taker for webinar 2. Does everyone see that? Yes, everybody's nodding. Okay, my job today is to get you into motion by watching these first 2 webinars, which will take you through page 6 of the Roadmap Workbook. This will be done together during the 90-minute after meeting support session. We're going to take baby steps for the first few lesson plans so that everyone can get into momentum, and from then on, we're going to work at a brisk but comfortable pace and help every member make more money with the Power Team Certified program. Are you okay with this? Great. I shall pass the meeting back to the president, and we'll get started on the after meeting session at 9:30 a.m. sharp.